the 21.28 acres located at 398 Cox Creek Parkway. This property is also commonly known as Electronics Express, Dick's Sporting Goods, Field and Stream, etc. Currently, there is one existing lot, the applicant proposing a total of two. The applicant wishes to subdivide the existing Electronics Express building away from the rest of the Cox Creek Shopping Center so that the business can purchase the property. All existing access and parking will remain the same. Departmental comments, Mr. Chairman. All departments either concur with contingencies such as easements needed, etc. We will make the applicant aware of these departmental comments via an action letter based on tonight's decision. All adjoining property owners have been notified via certified mail, and I have not had the pleasure of meeting the applicant in person, so I don't think they are in attendance tonight.
Okay, very good. And no one from Whiteland and Collins is here. Okay, that's fine. And also, in full disclosure to everyone who is in here, we did have a posted and scheduled work session tonight at 4:30 to discuss these applications that were made. Of course, no decisions were made, and only informational gathering was there, just questions for the department to help it not be so laborious for the audience as well as the commission members tonight. So are there questions for the department? I know in the work session we did talk about the fact that this is a private water system, public-private water system on the property that the applicant is aware of as well.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe the applicant has been in contact with our water department. Our water department does a good job of reaching out to the applicants when any issues arise like that. If they have not, like I said, they will be notified via what the water department needs in order to get that rectified.
And also, am I correct in hearing you say a question from Mr. Abernathy that given the fact that this is an existing subdivision and buildings with party walls, that there will not be any need for supplemental regulations in regards to setbacks as they are existing?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Right. Any other questions for the department after we've had a chance to digest it? Hearing none, is there anyone here to speak to this application tonight? Anyone at all? And I will say for this application as well as the application coming next, if you wish to address the commission at the time allowed, please come up to the podium, introduce yourself with your name and address for us, please, so we can have that on the record. Anyone at all? Hearing none, I'll close the floor at this time and bring the matter back to the commission for consideration. We have a request for a final plat approval, which means that the subdivision will not come back to the planning commission in the future, and the lines will be redrawn at this. Do I have a motion or any discussion from the commission?
I move approval subject to departmental comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fight. I have a motion with the departmental comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Hubbard. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor by show of hands. Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, if you would inform the applicant of our approval, please.
Will do.
The next item we have on the agenda is a request for a preliminary plan approval for 2 lots in a right-of-way stub-out located at 741 Lakeside Drive. Professional LLC is the applicant. For the audience's edification and always to remind ourselves here on the commission, this is simply a preliminary plan approval. What it does is it gives the applicant an idea that a basic concept might be all right if properly designed. These are very basic requirements that an applicant needs to see if it's even something that could be entertained and what it would take to bring it up to departmental approval for a final subdivision, if that is in fact the decision of the commission. So again, this is preliminary. It has nothing to do with any future development coming forward as well that may or may not happen. We're not looking into the future here. We're looking, though we may be planning for the future, we're looking strictly as to what this applicant is requesting just today. And so with that, Mr. Smith, do you have a...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick reference of where this property is actually located. You can see the red outline on the property down there. This is the very southern tip of the Lakeside Highland subdivision. This property actually borders Wilson Lake. The applicant, as you said, Mr. Chairman, is requesting preliminary plan approval for the .93 acres located at 741 Lakeside Drive. Currently, there is one existing lot, with the applicant proposing a total of 2 lots and a right-of-way that will stub out to adjoining acreage to the east. The property to be divided is a lot of the Lakeside Highland subdivision. The applicant has demolished a structure that was located on the property previously. The proposed right-of-way, if approved, could be utilized to access the property to the east. The subject property is located inside the city limits of Florence, and any constructed right-of-way must meet the requirements of the City of Florence subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance. Departmental comments, Mr. Chairman. All departments concur with this request. There are some needed easements and such that the applicant already has been made aware of. The applicant is in attendance tonight, as well as his representatives. District 3 Councilman, Mr. Griffin, is in attendance tonight, and I personally talked to one property owner that lives in the neighborhood who is also in attendance tonight. So with that, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, from looking, there are, like you say, a couple of contingencies, a 30-foot utility easement for the proposed 60-foot right-of-way, because 60 feet right-of-ways are the city standard in the city of Florence.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, and typically the utility departments want 15 foot each side of the right-of-way. They do not have enough room to request the 15 foot on the north side of the stub out, so they have requested 30 foot so that all the infrastructure could be put in and not be on top of each other per se.
Right. This particular lot, being a new lot, would still have to require with sidewalks and street trees as well, correct?
That is correct. That portion of the plan is not required at preliminary approval, although we know that's not required at preliminary approval. We went ahead and put the applicant on notice that we would be looking to see that in any future submittals.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions for the department at this time? Mr. Bowden.
Some subdivisions have a code that says lots of this will be subdivided. Does anybody check and see? Lakeside Highlands has covenants that says a lot cannot be.
I see Councilor Burchell shaking his head there. There are none at this time. Any other questions? Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here, and would they like to address the commission at this time? Okay. You've been made aware of some specific departmental comments. Any problems with any of those comments at this time? Okay. Thank you very much. Again, the floor is open now. If anyone would like to address the commission, I ask that you please approach the podium. Give your name and address for us, please.
I'm Barbara Valente, and I live next door to that property.
I'm sorry.
I'm Barbara Valente. I live next door to that property. I'm at 731 East Lakeside. And the next one will be 741, it used to be. And it looks like to me on there that they're going to come over like 4 feet into right next to my property. And I'm against that.
Well, of course, they would not be allowed to encroach upon your property or into your property. You'd have to set those lines to make sure that those lines are proper.
If they're saying there's an easement or something that's been there for years, even though I've taken care of it for 38 years down through there, what would happen then?
Well, describe the easement a little.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking you guys because I don't understand it according to the direction.
Okay, easements in this case would be for utilities. If cared for or not, easements stay in place unless vacated.
Mhm.
So those easements would still be there if they are there.
Yeah, they're in the back of the.
Yeah, they would have to be
property.
they'd have to be vacated if anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's been there for years, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Very good. Oh, they have to be vacated or replaced?
No,
depending on-
they stopped at the property before me,
Oh,
so there
okay.
was nothing that had come down there. So, that's on the back of the property, hitting the Darby's property.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else? Tom?
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I assume that property's been surveyed. It's
Yeah.
subdivided.
Mhm.
There should be some stakes there somewhere.
There's a stake going straight down through a tree, part of a tree. But then it looked down there that we're gonna curve in, just as my driveway comes down, then it curves into where the fence area is and go down. That's what my
Yeah.
concern was.
I would not place your stake in a preliminary plan like this,
Okay.
as built and with the lines as they pull them, or what you will want to keep an eye on for that.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this application?
Mr. Chairman, as a point of reference.
Yes, ma'am.
There is an easement that runs on the boundary line, over the boundary line into county property. It does run along the backside
Right,
of
the
those
backside.
lots, but it is not part of this subdivision.
Okay, great. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Doug Flippo. I live at 733 West Lakeside Drive. Frank Button wrote the book on planning. He designed Lakeside Highlands 100 years ago. He had a stub out at another location in the neighborhood. It's probably shown on that other plat map, or y'all are probably aware of that other stub out, which would be better suited for a street. So it's already planned for access to that property. So I think it would be have a negative effect on the quality of life for everybody beyond Highland Circle. So there's a stub out right here, and I know everybody's aware of, all of them are aware of it, because when they bought the property, it was arrows drawn out to that location. That's where they probably thought they were gonna build their road to, and this opportunity came up. So that's the worst place for a road. If anybody's been at that site, you'll know that that's the worst place for a road. So, all right, thank you.
It's on a hill, and it starts the curve, still on a hill.
Nothing.
And that's where they're looking to do that. And that's just, and there's kids that come down there.
This is
there's
preliminary
park,
approval.
There's golf carts.
Preliminary
There's
request.
walkers, there's runners, all the time. And if you come over that hill, you're not gonna see, there's an accident waiting to happen because of how that, if you get more traffic or anything going in there.
All right, well, thank you for those considerations. Again, but this is very preliminary and just for this particular lot and just this particular roadway. And it would have to be designed as such with safety factors in mind, grade factors, as well as grade, slope, as well as the typical curb and gutter and everything required at that time. So it won't be just a little road going through, even just a stub out.
I'm Bill Griffin, 316 Frida Drive. Could you
We'll
repeat,
forgive you for not coming up to the podium today, Mr. Griffin.
I want to go back to the, there wasn't 60 feet, there's just 30 feet, was it, or is it 30 to 15? I was trying to catch those numbers.
Typically, easements are on both sides of a right-of-way, 15 and 15.
15 to 15,
In
okay.
this case, it will be 30 feet
On one side.
rather than 15 to 15. But easements, even public, so there's two types of easements, public easements and private easements. In this case, it's a public easement. It must be contained wholly on the property that the applicant is subdividing. It's not taken from anyone else's property.
So none of the utilities would be up the hill, which we
They
were
would
just.
not be on anyone else's property.
Okay, and so all utilities would be driving in to the right-hand side of the road? If-
Yes,
Okay,
the south side.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Anyone else here to speak to this application?
Yeah, I want to speak.
Yes.
My name's David Watson. I live at 713 West Lakeside. I presently own property at 345 East Lakeside, which is where I grew up. I just recently inherited that property, which will be halfway down East Lakeside Drive. And I can tell you all about the traffic on East Lakeside if you want to know about it, because it's one of only 2 stop signs. The traffic is a lot. The roads are already not in the best of shape, and if I got here late, and it appears to me that we're talking about putting a road at the very end of the neighborhood, so we're gonna increase the traffic. And if there's a road going down there, we're looking at construction traffic. And with kids along this long stretch with no traffic control, I really wish y'all looked at this really hard. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Appreciate that, Mr. Watson. And I can assure you, we look at every case that we have really hard, and especially when we look at new subdivisions that could possibly attach to older subdivisions, traffic is one of the very first considerations that always comes up.
I'm not against the subdivision.
Oh, I
But
understand.
the access being at the very end of the subdivision, bringing the traffic through this subdivision. And our subdivision is old, but it's also becoming younger.
Right.
And,
Congratulations.
yeah, I mean, we're doing good right now. And like I said, there is a lot of traffic.
Well, I appreciate
I'm
your.
very familiar with that street, because that's where I grew up, and I've lived in this neighborhood my entire life.
I appreciate your concern. I also think it's important, when these things come up, it's usually because of new development, but the city departments are here also to take your comments at other times to let them know there's potholes here, there's roads that needs to be improved, there's stop signs
Yeah,
that you need.
They've paved about it every 10 to 15 years, but it's starting to deteriorate. And with the added traffic, it's gonna have to be addressed.
We appreciate that comment,
Okay.
Mr. Watson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this application? Anyone at all? This time I will bring it back to the commission for consideration of what is a very preliminary plan approval for a single lot subdivision at this time with a right-of-way stub out. Any discussion among the commission? Any questions? There hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for preliminary plan approval for 2 lots and a right-of-way stub out at 741 Lakeside Drive. Again, I cannot iterate enough how this is a preliminary plan approval. And please make any motion, should you make it, with departmental comments. I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Bland. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor by show of hands. Thank you very much. Good luck with this part of your development. The next items that we have is other business. We have the approval of the minutes for April 27th, 2021. Ms. Hubbard, we are glad to have you back with us here.
Thank you, it's good to be back. And it's been great.
Okay, we've had a hard time keeping Regina straight without you being here, so we. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Have a motion? Second. Mr. Bland, thank you very much. All in favor by show of hands? Thank you very much. Madam Director?
Just very quickly, tomorrow is our pre-construction conference for River Heritage Phase 3 with a estimated start date of June 15th.
June 15th.
Of this year,
Wow.
2021, not 41.
That is an excellent that's an excellent improvement for the city. As part of the chairman's report, let me add that you have stuck with this plan
Thank you.
for quite a while, and its fruition is good in coming and well deserved.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I want to thank everybody again for coming. I'd like to thank everybody in attendance and their comments. Thank you for the department heads here, Chief. Always thank you for coming as well. And with that, we are adjourned.
What's preliminary?